Okay, so welcome to the first day of class. This video is called Getting Started because we're going to go over the syllabus and some of the logistical details of getting started with the class and navigating the website. It's a resource you're going to be using every day. So as you can see, I've just gone to a web browser here and I've typed in alexmath.org, and that will take me to the home page. And you can spend time navigating around this. The most important things to know are that you're going to go up here and you're going to click on algebra or geometry depending on which class you're in. So let's say that you're in algebra. You click on that and it'll bring up the class page for algebra. The first thing we're going to go over is the syllabus, and it's listed right here. Okay, the syllabi for algebra and geometry are very similar, and there are only slight details that are different for each class. I'm going to hand out a copy on the first week of school, and so we'll actually go over it together, but in case you get home and your parents want to hear me talking about it, they can watch this video as well. So this is the Algebra 1 syllabus. It just gives you some of my information at the top, math lab hours. Talk about expectations. You can read this on your own. We'll go over it in class also. I don't use a textbook. As you can see here, I don't use a textbook. I write my own notes for my classes and I go off of those. They follow all of the state and federal standards, and I just like to organize them my own way, and I'm basing it off of just experience in my work as a teacher and my 6 years of college and graduate school studying higher mathematics and knowing what needs to be taught and how to teach it. So it's my own creation, and it works very, very well. I'm excited to share it with you. So there's no textbook, nothing to lug around. Sometimes in classes I will provide my own notes printed out, and I provide one copy. I do not provide reprint copies. That is your responsibility if you lose it or destroy it. So you can go read through the organization and everything here. And then this, full disclosure and consent to take the course. This is the most important part I want to talk about right now. Because community school is a non-graded school, but these classes offer high school credit, they are graded, and you have to consent. You have to choose to do that. You don't have to take it for credit, which means that you won't be graded on any assignments. That's okay. But if you do want high school credit this year, then you need to acknowledge and you need to read this paragraph right here with your parents and make sure that you recognize that you have to earn an A or a B in order to earn credit for the class. That's an overall grade. Now, grading, if you look right here, grading is on a 10-point scale. Most schools do not do this. That's really more of a college thing because the work is harder. But I grade. I'm a difficult grader, and I know I'm a tough teacher. But the way that I grade can be kind of harsh. So in order to compensate for that, I do a 10-point scale to keep everything scaling along with letter grades that I feel are fair. So I use a 10-point scale, and you'll quickly become used to this. I mean, really, everybody should just be getting 100 all the time, and then we wouldn't even have to talk about this. But, you know. Okay, so grade weightings. I will talk about this with you individually if you're interested in learning how a weighted average works. I'm happy to explain it. So, one more thing, extra credit, and I want parents to know this too. I give 3 points of extra credit, which is actually 3% out of a total grade of 100. 3 points is 3%. If the grade is 100, obviously. So if you turn in your notes set at the end of the year, I will give up to 3 points on your final grade. So if you're sitting at an 89, which if you look right here, an 89 would be a B. If you turn in your note set, you are bumped up, you could be bumped up to a 92, which would put you at an A. So it actually can really make the difference between a letter grade if you're right on the cusp. So it's important to take this seriously, and I want your parents to know that this is the case, and I don't want any, oh, I didn't know about this near the end of the year. I didn't know about the extra credit. I'm telling you now, and it's on a recording, so everybody knows, okay? Please come ask me if you have questions. This last page of the syllabus, and it's the same for geometry, the document is almost the same, just some of the details are different for each of the class based on particular differences. But both classes have this consent acknowledgement as the last page. Now this is what you have to sign, and your parents have to sign, and then I have to sign it, so that everybody's on the same page about knowing that you're doing the class for credit and knowing what the expectations are. And so I've organized it into 5 bullet points here, numbers little 1 through little 5 right here, little Roman numerals. And you need to agree to those 5 stipulations, those 5 conditions. And so I want you to take this home and explain it to your parents and have your parents read it. Your parents can watch this video if they want, and everybody has to sign it down here. Student, parent, and teacher. And then of course you bring this paper back to me and you keep the rest of the syllabus, the first page, in your binder for future reference, because I will have you look back at it later in the year if you're asking me how much, what a grade is or how much something is worth. The first page tells you all that. So the most important things to know here is that you have to get an A or a B in the class to get high school credit. And so on a 10-point scale, the lowest B you can have is an 81. But I round fractional points at the end of the year. I don't round in the middle of the year. I only round at the very, very last grade calculation. So at the very end of the year I will round fractional points to the nearest whole point. And so if you have a minimum grade of an 80.5, the 80.5 would be rounded to an 81 and you would have a B for the class and you would pass. So that is the absolute minimum that you can have and pass the class, is an 80.5. Anything lower than that would round to an 80 and you would have a C and you would not have credit. Okay? So I'm just making that very clear right now. This I find is important, especially for people taking graded classes for the first time. The requirements are mandatory. You cannot choose in or out, or it's some of this and some of that. It is what it is. It's very black and white. And you need to maintain an open conversation with your parents about how you're doing and what how your assignments have been and what your grades are. I'm happy to tell you at any time what your grade is because I use Excel to calculate it. So I can easily tell you exactly what you have if you just come ask me any day throughout the year. Okay, and then there are some stipulations here about SOLs if you're going to a public high school, and I'm happy to share those with you or explain those if that is going to apply to you. So all of this can be reviewed at home. The most important thing now to look at is this big chart. So you have the syllabus, and this big chart is going to be your best friend this year. This is where I'm going to list in a very organized fashion what I expect you to do every day. I have gone through and counted out the individual days we will have class, and they're all listed right here. So if you notice, these are not continuous. Well, 5, 6, 7, and then 11, well then there's a weekend in there. And so these are the actual days we're going to have class. 2, 3, 10, 11 down in October, that's because of fall festivals, so I didn't put those days in. So these are individually picked days we're going to have classes. And then on that day, so the way that I've done this, I've gone exactly from that day over to daily exercises. So on September 5th, your daily exercise for that night is going to be sign the consent acknowledgement we just talked about on the syllabus. And then over here, you're going to watch these videos. Okay? So on this date, whatever the day is that is listed there, so on September 5th, you will sign the consent acknowledgement, watch Welcome and Getting Started. Most of the time you're only going to have one video to watch. And so if you just click right there on Welcome, it will take you to the Welcome video. And then you can just click it. All of these are hosted on my YouTube account, so you can go to YouTube or you can just play it right from here. Just click and it'll start playing. Okay, everybody's familiar with the YouTube video experience. So that should make it very easy. So in class on the 6th, you will have an assignment and a video for that class day. And it's all linked right here. The daily exercises I will give out in class, I do not post those on the website because I find that students need to have responsibility for the physical paper itself. Okay, so if you have any questions, please come ask me. Geometry is exactly the same way. It's, the syllabus is here, the daily exercises are here, and as we do different assignments, the two charts will have the appropriate information in there. Feel free to browse around, read my bio if you want to, if you're interested, and check out some of the other. I have some old blog entries from last year when I did a project with my students last year. Feel free to read those. They can be fun, like divide without division. Here's a post about how to divide without using any division. You could look at golden ratio and quadratics if you're interested in reading about the golden ratio. It's pretty cool. So I've just left this up even though we're not going to be using it for anything this year. Okay? All right, thanks. I'll see you in class tomorrow.